Hey guys, it's Dave, and Joe had reached out and asked me to give you a little bit of my thoughts and everything that happened at the Training Camp Live 2 event that I went to, the men's event over in Dallas, which was really, really cool. And I wanted to start by telling you that the theme of the whole 2 days was stories. So, for those of you that have jumped into this Jesse Regan training and are doing a lot of work on story and everything, you're going in the right direction. And I'd like to start with a little story about how this whole thing at Training Camp Live 2 started. So there we are, me and a couple guys that were also there alone, sitting around and just waiting for things to start. And there's a lot of music going and all that. And I don't know their names. There's 2 guys that were running it. I probably should know their names, but whatever. I don't know their names. And they're up on stage and they're talking, and one of them leaves. And the other guy, they're kind of buddy-buddy, and they're kind of talking and whatever, back and forth on the stage. The one guy leaves, and then he starts talking about how Beachbody corporate kind of sucks, how the trainings are kind of really basic, and we're only good maybe 15 years ago or however long it was, I don't know. And he's all talking about how all these guys and men are showing up and doing everything to put this training together for all of us coaches, and how Carl Deichler, he's like, do you think he's going to be here? And all this time, he's just going on and on and on. He's totally bashing the way some of the Beachbody training goes. I'd like this video not to get out. So as he's doing this, not really bashing too bad, but you know, he's bashing. He's giving him a hard time. And now all of a sudden he's talking about Carl Deichler and who's not showing up, and how we're the guys that are showing up and taking care of training for men. Not me, but those two. And the next thing you know, the light in the background starts to not be so dim. And on out walks Carl, standing there right behind him. And the cool thing about it was this: he didn't know. He was set up by his buddy. See, that's the thing about guys. We do really bad things to each other and then laugh about it hysterically. So his buddy arranged for Carl to be there without him knowing. And so everybody in the audience, we start clapping and cheering. And this guy starts to feed on that a little bit. Because he thinks we're cheering him on. So he gets even more audacious and rowdy and starts fist bumping and talking about all this stuff that we're doing right at this men's event and how they're not getting help from corporate. And Carl walks up closer to him, and the crowd is just going nuts. And then he takes and he stops and he realizes that something's going on, and he goes, "He's right there, isn't he?" And the look on his face. Well, he turned around, gave him a hug and all that stuff. But there's a story about how guys treat each other there. And we absolutely do that sort of thing to one another. And so the theme of the whole deal is stories, guys. And so I'm going to go through my notes. And every time I say, hey, I'm going to make a post or something like this about something that I saw there, I'm not just going to make a post. I'm going to use a story to tell it. So lots of times I do put up, everybody knows it, they've seen my page, one-liners with some text and, you know, a fist bump or whatever, and all of that. But I need to start making engaging posts that are also stories. All right? So I'm going to go on with that, and we'll continue with that kind of thought process. So they had Gary Vaynerchuk and a couple other speakers, and then after those top guys got done with their spiel and the value that they were going to add and inviting everybody to their training, they then had nothing but coaches sharing their own personal playbook, what they do daily in and out. And I thought one of the interesting things that both Gary V and Carl Deichler both said the same thing. They said at the end of the day, when they're getting ready for bed or whatever it is they're doing, reading their personal development, going through the last things, their checklist of whatever it is that their day had gone through, they go ahead and they ask themselves this. They say at night before bed, they ask themselves if they outworked anybody. So wow, right? How many times have I gone to bed and I haven't outworked anybody. How many times maybe have you done it? I know I've done it quite a bit more than I would have liked to. And that's why my business is where it is, right? One of the things that they were talking about is some of the opportunities that are coming up, and how you can kind of monopolize on those opportunities. For instance, the Feds are going to raise the rates of the interest, and it's just going to happen. And the economists know, and it's kind of par for the course, that for quite a while now, inflation is going to go up. Things aren't going to be a whole lot better, even though there's more jobs. People aren't making more money. They're making the same amount of money. And what did they say? They said, how much money do you make if you spend everything? If you spend all of it, you make nothing, right? So we know that there's going to be opportunities and people that are just going to be fed up with their jobs and things like that. And then the second thing I wanted to talk about a little bit, and that they were mentioning, was the Beachbody performance. And maybe some of you know this from one of the Monday morning wake-up calls. I get them on podcasts. I fast forward to the good stuff, and obviously I'm missing stuff. So maybe stop doing that, right? And then they were talking about how Beachbody Performance is actually the sponsor for Ironman. So if you got people that are like really serious athletes that maybe you think you can't talk to them about anything Beachbody because they're already super fit, well, you can always talk to them about the performance line, because, and I didn't talk to people much about the performance line because I thought it was kind of too unknown, right? And with all the other things that are so well established, I didn't really mention it much. But now that they've gone ahead and the Ironman competition is using it, there's nothing tougher. I don't care what sport you're in, there's nothing more grueling than the Ironman, and that's just the way it is. So what a great opportunity to start talking to people that are already in a gym that may not ever leave the gym, right? May not ever do a Beachbody program, but could become a coach because they could rep this new line that's used in the Ironman competition. It's a great way to maybe enhance your business. Okay. So throughout these guys, these top coaches, they're all they mentioned some books that really impacted and affected them. And as I go through this, I'm going to go ahead and tell you what those books were. And for one of these guys, it was The Art of Exceptional Living. I don't know who makes it. You can just type in the title, The Art of Exceptional Living. And this is the guy that was talking about if you want to make more money, make yourself more valuable. And he kind of went and touched on how if you spend all that you make, you don't make anything. And he was talking about how he built his business, and he gave us a whole story, and I'm not going to go through his whole story, but he gave us a story about how he knew his job was ending, and so he really needed to create an income. And what did he do? Well, his life for that year or that 2 years looked very different than it does now. He would work his regular job, and then at his lunch break, he would go and either type up a blog or send out some invites on that 30 minutes, eating and typing up. And when he got home, he would do his couple hours or whatever it was he was doing, if he was making blogs or if he was making up, getting his story posts right and doing all that stuff. And one thing he wanted to stress is that even though working out is vital, don't confuse that for work. I think a lot of times we have a long day at work or whatever, and then we get home and we're going to go work out because that's what we got to do. We got to be proof the product works, right? And then we work out and it gets late and all this kind of stuff happens. And at the end there, we're tired and we're going to go to bed because we got to get up and do it again. Well, your workout's not work. You're not done. You have to spend at least 30 to 50, 60 more minutes, your power hour, whatever that looks like. You still got to do that. So just keep that in mind, that get your workouts done, of course, but that's not your business. Your business is your business. Another thing that that we touched on at the men's event is your why. Why are you doing what you're doing? And that's talked about a lot, and I kind of blew it off a little bit. Not getting too serious about it. You know, my why, I want to make more money, right? I don't want to have the same job, but that's not that's not really tied enough, right? So there's one thing that's for sure, okay? A lot of people use it, and it's used so much that it's almost cliche. But the fact is, you do it for your kids, right? I think all of us have kids on the team. And if that's the reason that you do it, then you have to remember that whoever you're working for now doesn't care about your kids. They don't. They will never, ever, ever care about your family as much as you do. That's something to remember. You know, as you're building your business, think about that. People get laid off all the time, right? Things like that happen. Companies close. And when it does, or if it does, those people are not going to care about your family at all. They're going to be too busy caring about their own. Okay, so whatever that why is for you, think of it in a more urgent sense. So one of the things they were talking about in this training was rooftop leadership. And I'm going to go through the steps a little bit and tell you a little bit of the story to kind of make it make sense to you. The three critical steps of rooftop leadership is 1, knowing your arena, 2, bridging trust, and 3, leading from the rooftop. And so there was this guy that was an Army Ranger, and he was there talking to us, and he had to go into Afghanistan and live with these villagers that wanted nothing to do with the Americans and get them to fight the Taliban. And how do you do that? Well, he said first, you have to go to knowing your arena. You had to know the people. So the Rangers, they went there and they lived with the Afghans. They had to know the people, know the terrain, know their arena. 2, they had to bridge trust. And the only way they did that was they told these Afghanis that they said, 1, if we're going to help you fight the Taliban off and become free. He said that 2, they're going to resist and attack you, and they're going to try to kill you. And he said 3, I promise you that when that happens, and it will, that we will be there fighting with you, and they will have to kill us along with you. So how does that go and affect us in our business? Okay, so 1, know your arena, know your audience. So we're doing this work in the Jesse Regan training, and we're going to figure out who our ideal audience is. You need to know that audience. One of the guys was talking, and he made me chuckle a little bit, because when he started with Beachbody and all that, he was trying to sell insanity to MMA fighters. He thought, wow, MMA fighters would be really into this really hard workout. And so he went and he joined all these groups and started talking to these MMA fighters. And very, very quickly, they realized that he had no clue what he was talking about. The most he knew about it was maybe the name of a fighter or 2, you know. So know your audience and stick with that audience that you know. Okay, don't fake into some other audience that's not you. Are you a first responder? Great, go with that. Are you a faith-based dad that's into softball? Great, go with that. Are you a coach of your kids' little league teams? Great, go with that. Whatever that is for. Are you a hunter and you like outdoors? Run with that. Okay, so know your audience and do all that stuff. So that's your arena. Bridging trust. How do you bridge trust? Well, the way that they did it was the Green Berets. When the crap hit the fan, every couple nights the Taliban would come and they would start shooting into the village. And so what they would do is the Green Berets would get themselves, they'd wake up, they'd strap their stuff together, they'd climb up the ladders to the rooftops, and he'd start shooting. And at first, he would shoot and shoot and shoot. And this happened for about a week or so. He'd go up, all of his Ranger buddies will go up, and they'd start firing back. Bullets are flying at him, he's firing back out. And then in about a week or so, 3 weeks I think he said, he noticed something different. He went up onto the rooftop, he started shooting, his buddies came up and they started shooting, and all of a sudden there was one other person shooting. Not U.S. military hardware, just some guy. An Afghani followed him up. The next day they went and walked around in the village, and they were giving some sign of peace and respect from the Afghanis. So a couple days later, the Taliban came back. What'd they do? They went back up. Now there was 2 or 3 guys up there shooting along with them. That is our post about our workouts and the things that we're doing. So how do you bridge trust? Show people that you're going to stay there. Show them that you're going to be there and doing the same thing. If you're posting and posting and then you take a month off, you lost their trust. You lost all of it. So I messed up the order there a little bit. Know your arena, look below the waterline, lead from the rooftop. I kind of skipped the middle one there. But you get the gist of what I'm talking about here. Basically, tell the story followed by authentic actions and deeds and posts that are giving value. And then don't stop. Just show up every single day. And when I was posting really, really consistently and putting videos out there and doing all that stuff, in what was it, January and the end of December, come February, Joe said to me, he came up and he said, dude, you're crushing it out there. This is the month for you to hit Success Club. And you know what? I did it, and it was easy. And it was easy because I showed up all the time and constantly. And whatever happened, I forget what, was it a training or an event or something I went to? It doesn't even matter what it was because it's an excuse no matter what it is. Clearly, because I can't even remember what caused me to fall off from that. So, what did I do? I lost everybody's trust. I just did. And Success Club points for me show it. So, build that back up and don't leave. Right? Don't leave the Afghanis. Okay? Whatever your market is, those are your Afghanis. Just don't leave them. Don't leave them because you will lose them. All right. I think that's all of that part. And we'll move on to more here. Hold on. So guys, one thing that we have a lot of trouble with just as guys, right, is communicating and talking and getting to know other guys. The thing about guys is this: once you get past a couple of questions and you get into the meat of whatever, you've made a bond. But the problem is getting past those first couple of questions, right? So, because most guys are like this. You walk up to somebody and this is what's going through his head. Who's this guy? And you're walking up trying to be nice. What does he want? Is he selling something? Does he want my wallet? You're still trying to be nice. Dude, I'm going to jack you in the face. Right? That's kind of how we think. And but there are ways around that. There are absolutely definite ways around it. It takes a little more work for us guys. And it's simply by asking questions. Okay? If you're curious and you shut up and let them talk, you'll get to that bonding place. And you can do it in a couple of ways. What kind of car do they drive? Do they have a truck? Do they have a car? Or is it a type of car that they're proud of, right? What kind of sports do they like? Do you have a sports team in your area that you can chit-chat with small talk about? How about outdoors? Is the guy wearing any kind of camo? Is he an outdoorsy type of guy? How about kids? Does he look like he might have a family, be old enough to have kids, right? Everybody loves to talk about their kids. I love to talk about my kids. My kids are awesome. No matter who says what, my kids are better, and that's it. And let him tell you that all day long. Marriage. Maybe a guy's married, and maybe the guy goes to the gym. And as guys, that's one of the things that we run into a lot. At least I do. So the guy's already going to the gym. And one thing you can do is you can ask him, well, how's that going? How long have you been going to the gym? What is that gym like, right? So you can ask him these things and just get his answers. Oh, I've been going there. The guy says, well, I've been going there for 8 months. 8 months. Wow, that's pretty great, man. So what kind of results are you getting? Oh, well, I've been getting a little bit of results. I lost 10 pounds. 10 pounds, that's pretty good. What system are you following? What system? Yeah, what system? I work out all the time. I follow a system. Well, I just go work out. Really? Because that 10 pounds might have been able to do that in 90 days. See? So we can talk, right? We can talk about guy things and break that ice a little bit and then bring it into some sort of talk about anything. And you can get you talk about his kids, talk about his job, talk about how you can help him in some kind of way, any kind of way that's not fitness related, that's not business related. Give him a recommendation to a great restaurant to take his wife to. Oh man, I can't remember it, but if you let me Facebook you, I'll just send you the link to the restaurant. She'll love it. Right? You can tell them something like that, and then go find a really great restaurant and give them the link. All right, so there's things that we can do to be helpful. Hey, I just saw this great movie with my family. My kids loved it. I can't think of it right now, but hey, you know what? let me just get your Facebook and I'll send it to you. Something like that, right? Anything to help him get his Facebook. And oh man, that's a sweet ride. What are you doing to it? Yada, yada, yada. What are you doing to it? Yada, yada, yada. So I think this is running long, but you get the point. Okay, so there was a big part of this training that really resonated a lot with me, and that was to give myself permission to be raw on my posts. And raw as in real. I have a pretty big following of fighters, former fighters, and a pretty big amount, a very large amount of the ones that actually talk to me, chit chat with me, and that stuff are really faith-based people. And it's not that I'm not a faith person, but I don't go to church. I don't read my Bible. I do pray with my kids. I do believe in God, in all of that. But I noticed that in my post in particular, I get a lot of faith-based guys, and I think that I'm being a little fake to them, and I don't want to do that, okay? So I put out a post today that I thought was really, really me. And my wife, I had her check it out after I put it up, and she totally agreed. She says a lot of those other posts really aren't you, but she said this one was you to a T. So I put a post on Facebook. It was of me working out, and I walked in, and I walk into this hotel fitness center, and I look around, and I just give a big old WTF. And I'm not swearing on the video. There was no free weights, and you know, when I kind of have a short fuse sometimes, and I'll pop off pretty quick, and so I did, and so I put it in my post. I walked in, gave a big WTF. There's no free weights in this fitness center again. I'm paying all this money. Well, the company's paying all this money, and I'm not even getting a free weight set out of it. And I talked about how I was doing beast chest and whatnot, and how I'm going to just use the machines to the best of my ability and just totally rock that workout. And I did. And I was just real on it, and it felt natural. So your post, if they're not feeling natural, please shake yourself a little bit. Just be who you are. Because there's tons of people like you and that are going to absolutely love your stuff. Okay? But if they love your stuff and it's not you, when they meet you, you lost them. You will lose your Afghanis if you are not real. Okay, so there was that. Let me continue on. Okay, so one of the coaches was talking about his best practices for inviting people to be a coach, and for prospecting for coaching. And he said that not anybody can be a coach. He doesn't invite everybody to the coaching opportunity. He only invites people that are winners. Now, how do you tell the difference? Okay, so these are people that went through his challenge group and they stepped up. They were strong, they were motivated, and they used products. I don't mean strong, I mean personality. And then he'll message to these people. He'll message to the ones that are stepping up in the challenge groups and whatnot. And with a direct and confident approach, he'll send them a message and try to connect with them about it. But he will get them on the phone. So he'll send them a message saying, hey, I want to talk to you about this. And then he'll get them on the phone. And he'll do it as confidently as possible. And he'll even do it on video because it's a better approach. And then he talks to them about why they're a good fit. And then he goes into his story with confidence, okay, not sheepishly. He tells them that he wants them as a part of his team. He asks them if they have any questions. And then he says, when are you signing up? And then he follows up and follows up and follows up. All right. And then there's a book that can go along with this. It's called Tell to Win. And this is regarding your stories. And first it starts with a challenge, goes through a struggle, and then a triumph. So basically, make your stories a Disney story. Okay, so there's a lot there. And there really was a whole lot more. That's not, I don't even think that's half of everything. But it's a lot. But the whole theme of everything and every speaker was story. And I'll say it again with the Jesse Regan training for everybody that's on there. creating your story and getting that interview done, and all of that is really where it's at. And when you're doing it, be authentic. Talk about the struggle. They don't care about your success in business or in fitness so much. They might like to see transformations, but they want to know the struggle you went through to get there. That's what they're going to identify with. Because maybe they haven't made that transformation yet, so they can't identify with it. They will only identify with things that were hard and tough to get through, because everybody's life is hard and tough to get through. So that's about all of it. That's about all that I have to give to you. Like I said, there's just so much more, and if you're a guy and you missed this, man, you missed out. This thing is like the Jesse Regan training. It's for Beachbody, and this one was for Beachbody for guys. So there you go, guys. That's all my stuff. I hope I helped you out in some kind of way and gave you some insights on what you missed out on and what you can look forward to for next year. And I'm going to go next year, so hopefully you'll be there with me.